the subject Computer Organization and Architecture. In this subject, we are going to start today the unit 8, that is Input-Output Organization. In this unit, we are going to see today the topic, that is Peripheral Devices and Input-Output Interface. Before starting with the topic, let me see what are the outline for this unit 8. These are we are going to cover this topic like peripheral devices, then we will see input-output interface, then asynchronous data transfer, then we will see the mode of transfer, and in this mode of transfer we will see the priority interrupt, then we will see direct memory access and the IOP processor, or you can say input-output processor. So let us start with the first topic, that is peripheral devices. The input-output subsystem of a computer is referred as a I/O device. And it provides the efficient mode of communication between the central system and the outside environment. Programs and data must be entered into computer memory for processing, and the result obtained from the computations must be recorded and displayed for the user. A computer system serves no useful purpose without the ability to receive the information from the outside source and to translate the result into a meaningful form. So we will require these peripheral devices. Here the input or output device that are attached to the computer are also called as a peripheral device. And among the most common peripheral device we can say as a keyboards, display units, printers, etc. And this peripheral device that provides the auxiliary storage for the systems like the magnetic disk and tabs. So these all are our peripheral device that we connect with the computer, or you can say CPU. Here let me see what is the input-output interface. The input-output interface provides the method for transferring the information between the internal storage and external I/O devices. The peripheral connected to the computer need the special communication link for interfacing them with the central processing unit. The purpose of the communication link is to resolve the differences that exist between the central computer and each peripheral devices. Here the major difference between this peripheral device and the CPU we can see like this. The peripherals are the electromechanical or electromagnetic device, and their manner of operation is different from the operation of the CPU and the memory, which are the electronic device. Therefore, the conversion of the signal values may be required. Second thing, the data transfer rate of the peripheral is usually slower than the transfer rate of the CPU, and consequently the synchronization mechanism may be needed. And third difference is that the data codes and the format in the peripherals differs from the word format in the CPU and the memory. And fourth difference we can consider is this, that the operating mode of the peripherals are different from each other, and each must be controlled so that not to disturb the operation of the CPU and the peripheral device that you have connected. So these are the major difference that require to be considered while you are connecting your peripheral devices with the CPU. So, to resolve these differences, the computer system includes the special hardware component between the CPU and the peripheral to supervise and synchronize all input-output transfer. And these components are known as an interface unit because they are interface between the processor bus and the peripheral devices. Here, our typical communication link between the processor and the several peripherals are shown in the figure. Here, we have connected this processor with the keyboard and the display terminals, with printer and the magnetic disk. These are our major peripheral devices, and these all are connected with some interface. Here we have connected with this interface. All the data bus, address bus and control buses are connected with this I/O devices. Each interface decodes the address and the control received from the I/O bus, interprets them for the peripheral, and provides the signal for the peripheral controller. It also synchronizes the data flows and supervises the transfer between the peripheral and the processor. Each peripheral has its own controller that operates the particular electromechanical devices. For example, the printer controller controls the paper motion, the printing timing and the selection of the printing character. A controller may be housed separately or may be physically integrated with the peripheral devices. Here, the I/O bus from the processor is attached to the peripheral interface. To communicate with the peripheral device, the processor places the device address on the address bus. Each interface attached to this I/O bus contains the address decoder that monitors the address line. When the interface detects its own address, it activates the path between the bus line and the device that it controls. All peripherals whose address does not correspond to the address in the bus are disabled by this their interface. At the same time that the address is made available in the address line, the processor provides the function code in the control line. Here we can say that there are total 4 types of command that an interface may receive, and these commands are control, status, data output and data input. We can first let me see that is control command. That a control command is issued to activate the peripheral and inform it what to do. For example, a magnetic tape unit may be instructed to backspace the tape by on record, or to rewind the tape, or to start the tape moving and in the forward direction. So this all are the control commands. The status command is used to test the various status condition in the peripheral interface and the peripheral. For example, the computer may wish to check the status of the peripheral before the transfer is initiated. So for that it can use this status command. Third command is a data command, data output command. This data output command causes the interface to respond by transferring the data from bus into one of the resistor. The computer starts the tape moving by issuing a control command. The processor then monitors the status of the tape by means of the status command. When the tape is in the correct position, the processor issues the data output command, so that the data can be given into the output. And this interface responds to the address and the command transfer the data lines in the bus to the buffer resistor. The interface that communicates with the tape controller and this sends the data to be stored on the tape. So this way we can use the data output command. Next one is the data input command, and this data input command is the opposite to the data output command. In this case, the interface receives an item of the data from the peripheral and places it into the buffer register. The processor checks if the data are available by means of the status command and then issues the data input command. The interface places the data on the data line where they are accepted by this processor. So these are the 4 commands we can use for the processing. Next we will see the example of this input-output interface. Here the example of an I/O interface unit is shown in this block diagram. We have shown here the port A, port B, control resistor and status resistor. These 4 resistors are used for this interfacing this device with the CPU. Then we have used this bus buffer to store or provide some buffer for the data. Then we have used this timing and control unit that provides the control and timing for your interface device. Here first one is a chip select that is used for selecting the chip. RS1 and RS2 are the resistor select control that is used for selecting the resistor from this 4 resistor, that is port A resistor, port B resistor, or control resistor or the status resistor. And then we have 2 control, IO read and IO write, for reading the content from the IO or writing the content into the IO. So this is the general purpose block diagram for your peripheral unit that contains your bus buffer unit, timing and control unit and some resistor. So let me further see in this unit. This interface communicate with the CPU through the data bus. The chip select and the register select input determines the address assigned to this interface, and the IO read and IO write commands are used to specify whether you have to write the data into interface or whether you have to read the data. Next we can say that this 4 resistor can communicate directly with the IO device that is you have attached to this interface, and this the IO data to and from the device can be transferred into either port A or port B whenever whatever the requirement. If this interface is connected to the printer, then it will only require the output to data, and if this interface is connected to some reader, then it will require only input the data. So depending upon that requirement, you can connect this port A and port B as an input or output port. Next we can say that a magnetic disk unit that transfers the data in the both direction but not at the same time, so that interface can use this bidirectional lines. A command is passed to the IO device by sending a word to the appropriate interface register, and you can say that the control register receives the control information from the CPU. By loading the appropriate bits into the control register, the interface and the IO device attached to it can be placed in a variety of operating modes. And for example, a port A may be defined as an input port and port B may be defined as an output port. So that will depend upon your control selection. The bits in the status register are used for a status condition and for recording errors that may occur during the data transfer. For example, a status bit may indicate that the port A has received a new data item from the IO device. Another bit in the status register may indicate that the parity error has occurred during the transfer. And the interface register communicates with the CPU through the bidirectional buses. And the address bus selects the interface unit through the chip select and to register select input. A circuit must be provided externally to detect the address assigned to this resistor. The circuit enables the chip select input when the interface is selected by this address bus. The two resistor select input RS1 and RS0 are usually connected to the two least significant line of the address bus, and these two inputs select one of the 4 resistor in interface as specified in this table. Like if your RS1 and RS0 are 0, 0, then your port 1 A, or you can say port A is selected. If it is 0, 1, then port B is selected. If it is 1, 0, then the control register is selected, and if it is 1, 1, then your status register is connected, or you can say selected. But all of this task you require that your chip select is 1. If your chip select is 0, then your RS1 or RS0's value cannot be considered. So for this operation or for the selection of the resistor, you must require that your chip selection is 1. Here the content of the selected resistor is transferred into CPU via the data bus when this IO signal is enabled. And the CPU transfers the binary information into the selected resistor via data bus when the IO write input is enabled. Next, we will see the isolated or memory mapped IO. In isolated IO, we are considering IO devices differently and providing the 8-bit or some fixed bit address for this IO devices. In memory mapped IO, we are considering the IO device as some memory location and using the instruction that we are using for the memory interfacing or memory connection. While in isolated IO, we will use some extra instructions that are specified for these IO devices. If we compare both of these things, then for the IO mapped IO, we can consider that uses the common bus for the data transfer for the isolated IO, that uses the separated memory or IO or read-write lines and the separate IO instruction set, and it has its own address space for the memory and the IO, and it is complex but highly flexible. If we consider for the memory mapped IO, then it uses the same space for the IO and the memory. The only one set of read and write signal is required, and the interface register considered as a part of the memory system, and it reduces the memory address space available because it has to share its address space with the memory or also with the IO devices. And the same instruction set can be used for the memory as well as the IO. For example, memory read instruction can be used for reading the memory and also for reading the IO device. While in the IO mapped IO, you will use separate instruction for reading the data from the IO and separate instruction for the reading the data from the memory. So by this way, you can use the memory mapped IO or the IO mapped IO. That will depends upon your requirement. So we are ending our today's session over here. If you have any query, then you can contact me.